those. So a lot of, you know, yes, now.
No, okay, no. Everybody looks a little
Do
bit.
what I can.
No.
I'd like to call the meeting of Gardner Board of Zoning Appeals to order. And if we may, everybody please stand and recite the Pledge of Allegiance. I
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Well, let's start at this, take roll call at this end.
Kevin King, Neil Wooden, Colleen Moore.
Kip Wildenauer. There is a quorum present. Standing approval of the minutes as written from the last meeting, the consent agenda, all items are listed on the consent agenda and has been distributed. Are there any items that members would like to remove from this consent agenda?
No?
If there's no discussion, may I hear a motion?
I move to approve all the items on the consent agenda.
Do I hear a second?
I'll second the motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. There's no opposed, all pass. Motion approved. Okay. We have some old business to take care of. Staff like to make a presentation?
I just have a brief presentation. I'm Michelle Leiniger, I'm the planning manager. Just wanted to go over this memo that we've included. Staff has received the FAA determination, which stated the determination of no hazard to air navigation for the proposed 70-foot flagpole. Staff's recommendation and staff report have not changed. The board wishes to approve the variance. Staff recommends that the board make the findings to support the approval regarding the criteria that's outlined in the state statute. I've listed those below. This is a criteria that state statute requires that we review projects for variances based on. The board has held the public hearing and closed the public hearing. So at this time, any discussion amongst the board members, questions of the staff and applicants, and then action are appropriate.
Okay. Thank you very much. And I ask the owner to address us if you wish.
Matt Rayfeld, I'm the operations manager for the Perkins here in Gardner. You know, not a lot has changed from our last meeting other than the FAA determination, which Michelle covered, and then of course we opened about 4 weeks ago. Has been a really good opening and very busy. I think that speaks to the fact that, you know, for us this is less about promoting our business, but more about just kind of sticking with a tradition that is generally well regarded in the community and highly supported. And on a day-to-day basis, we're asked about, you know, the status of our flagpole, probably no less than 3 or 4 times every day. So it's, you know, certainly something that I think the overwhelming majority of the people that have at least been in our business have expressed support of, and I guess that's, you know, all I really have to say.
Okay, you recognize that the city code says 45 foot tall, and you're asking for a 75 foot tall flagpole.
That is correct.
70, right?
70-foot flag.
I meant 70.
Yep.
Okay. Anybody have any questions for him? Not at this time? Thank you very much.
Thanks.
Did anybody have any questions for Michelle? Go ahead. I think there's a question in the making, Michelle.
Okay, I have one question. In Kansas, I tried to do some of my own research.
Speak clearly.
Specifically with Perkins and their locations, I'm having a hard time finding other city governments like this that with online documentation where they've gone through these exact same questions and how they answered them. Does that make sense? Do you understand my question?
I think so. These exact same questions, I'm addressed the questions your comments about Perkins and their situation in
Yep.
other Kansas towns.
Yep.
I can't speak to that. I think, Matt may be able to answer some of those questions. As far as the review criteria, those are specifically taken from Kansas state statute, and any variance request from any zoning ordinance is to be reviewed based on those criteria. So they're one for one. If you pull up a Board of Zoning Appeals staff report from Olathe, they should be reviewing them against the same criteria.
Okay.
Does that answer?
Yes and no.
Okay.
To be blunt, my question is, in Olathe, it's obvious to me that they have the 70-foot flagpole on Santa Fe. If they went through the exact same questions, how did they get around them?
Their code may be different. Their code may permit a 70-foot flagpole in that zoning district.
Okay.
Or their code may have an exception to permit taller flagpoles in general. So their flagpoles may not be caught under the maximum height requirements for the zoning district. They may be accepted out some other direction.
Doesn't the Gardner code follow, to some degree, similar to Olathe's code?
They are similar generally in format, and you'll see Olathe, Overland Park, some of those are very similar, but there have been things that have been changed when they were initially adopted and that have been amended over time. So I haven't specifically looked at how other cities have dealt with flagpoles. My history coming from Lawrence, they were a height exception in the code.
Okay.
At this point, it's still a closed meeting, so it's discussion only from the members, is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. You know, I would think that when people were planning and drawing up plots out there, the airport was a very important player. And at that time, as I kind of recall, the airport took up a lot of land and a lot of space in the requirements of the 70s, particularly when they were growing, you know, and they were pretty stagnant there for the 60s. And in the 70s, they decided they were going to get bigger and more involvement, having other businesses in it. And I could see where, you know, that in the drawing up of plots and planning for a flagpole, 45 foot would be appropriate for when they started. This is 20, 30 years later. don't know what the revisions have been, but obviously a flagpole hasn't been a part of that revision. And, you know, so we have a determination, or I see it as a determination from the FAA that that would not be a problem. To their concerns.
Yep, I agree.
You know, I know that I can't answer correctly. Well, I can answer correctly for me, those questions, you know, but not as the staff has presented them. And, do you have any more discussion on this item? To my left, to my right?
I would just point out, I guess, as far as number one goes, now the applicant responded no to this, I believe, but I would go so far as to say if you wanted to make that interpretation, that exchange there in the interstate, excuse me, being the southeast gateway into Gardner, would be a unique